Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. I am Earl Hazell, the husband of the wonderful Alexis Davis-Hazell, who you'll be hearing in a few moments, and also the executive producer of this wonderful new production company that she and I started together called Jazzoperetry Incorporated. Many years ago, because I had a background in jazz as well as classical operatic music and a love of poetry going back to my father, who was an amateur poet, I tried to figure out how I could bring all of the things I love together, because we're talking about very much separate careers and separate worlds that do intersect more often than we even know in the 20th and 21st century. And I began developing the idea of combining all of the three art forms into one performance piece, or one performance practice. And that's where the word, which I trademarked, Jazzoperetry, was born. All I needed then was to find a Spock to my Captain Kirk, and luckily enough, I married her. Things have been going great. In many of the productions that we will be doing now and in the future, I will be expanding my idea of jazzoperetry. What does it mean to have jazzoperetry and opera and poetry expressed within a performance? Would it be something as, say, obvious as John Coltrane meets E. Cummings, with a little bit of Verdi? Maybe so. But it might also be a more innovative and distinctly American look at what is already part of the standard classical operatic literature. All great songs, all great arias are the combination of classical music traditions and poetry. And the closer you get to the 20th century and into the 21st, the more do you get music that is influenced, and poetry influenced, by American art forms such as the blues and jazz. So having a distinctly American look, kind of looking at it through my eyes, opens up whole new worlds for music that you may already know, and may not know, but are familiar with the sound. Starting our program today, Where Is It That Our Soul Doth Go? As Alexis and I were going through a program, seeing what we can do with our great friends, Jeremy Peterman and Patricia Heller, we found this wealth of material for viola, piano, and mezzo that seemed to coalesce around a fascinating theme. What is the soul, and where does it go after the human experience that we are familiar with? So I designed a program from there. And the poetry of this program, I find, is actually beautiful. Most songs have good poetry, but as many composers will tell you, sometimes great poetry can be harder to set than just good poetry. These songs, I have found, consist of great poetry that's set to great music in a very beautiful, profound way. I'd like to begin with introducing it to you. The work of Charles Leffler, the first composer you will hear, has poetry from Charles Baudelaire, The Cracked Bell. It is bitter and sweet during winter nights to listen by the fire that pulses and smokes, to long distant memories slowly rising at the sound of chimes that sing in the mist. Happy is the bell with the vigorous throat, which, in spite of its old age, is alert and healthy, faithfully sends forth its religious cry like some old soldier on watch under his tent. As for me, my soul is cracked, and when its troubles, it wants to find and fill the cold night air with its songs, it often happens that its weakened voice seems as the thick gasp of one wounded, forgotten beside a lake of blood, underneath a large heap of dead, and who dies without moving, with immense effort. Let's dance the jig. Above all, I loved her pretty eyes, more clear than the stars of the skies. I loved her eyes where malice lies. Let's dance the jig. She had ways most well designed to desolate a lover's mind, which was of her so very kind. Let's dance the jig. But I find much better the kiss of her blossom mouth, since she is dead to heart. Let's dance the jig. I do remember vividly the hours and all our colloquy and that's the best thing left to me. Let's dance the jig. The sound of the horn is wailing near the wood. The sound of the horn is wailing near the wood with a sort of orphan-like grief which dies away at the foot of the hill amid the wandering breeze, desperately roams. The soul of the wolf cries in that voice which rises with the sun, that sinks with an agony we want to believe soothing, and that delights and grieves at the same time. To enhance this drowsy lament, the snow falls as long strips of linen across the blood-red sunset, and the air seems to be an autumn sigh, so gentle is this monotonous evening, where a slow landscape indulges itself. And finally, serenade. Like the voice of one dead that might sing from the depth of its grave, mistress, hear to my voice, shrill and false, rising up to your refuge. Open your soul and your ear to the sound of my mandolin. For you have I made this song cruel and caressing. I will sing of your gold and onyx eyes, pure of all shadows, then of the leaf, your breast, then the sticks of your dark hair. Then I shall laud highly, as necessary, this blessed body whose opulent perfume comes back to me on sleepless nights. And to finish, I will tell of the kiss of your red lips and your sweetness in making a martyr of me, my angel, my gouge. The poetry of Frank Baudelaire, to be heard set as songs to Charles Leffler. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Peterman, Patricia Heller, and mezzo-soprano Alexis Davis-Hazell bring you Where Is It That Our Soul